Again, we're talking the 6 ways to be landlord of the year. And ultimately, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, these are points that I need to work on myself as a self-manager of a property management company that my partner and I built. So I just operate that manages our assets. But a lot of these will ultimately affect your bottom line, and what you want as your end goal is to maintain tenant retention. And then also, if you happen to have any questions, do not hesitate to comment below. I will do my best afterwards to go ahead and jump in there. And just wanted to drop another bomb, which I usually like to do, is those of you who share this, and I do it on a weekly basis, is I will pick 2 people to have a phone call with myself. So and these are people that are on Facebook, and you may be able to do it on YouTube, unsure, but I'll pick 2 people to have a phone call with me, and basically we'll just talk through points on how maybe it's how to find a single family residence, how to do marketing, how to build a brand, etc. All those things I can touch on. If it's anything about land, that's something that's totally out of my realm, so nothing about land, please. Okay. All right, so let's jump into the content. And those of you who are on Facebook, please give the likes and the loves and the wows. Love those little wow faces. All right. So jumping into content, the first one is being proactive on the maintenance and also having communication, which ultimately when, let's say a resident calls in, there is a leaky faucet, or the toilet happens to be overflowing, it's best for you to not only to be on call and ready for that, but to also go out there and assess it, because that, let's say it keeps flooding, then that could damage your flooring. But from a tenant's perspective, they just want to be able to call you and be assured that, hey, when something comes in that's an issue, that I can call my landlord and they're going to take care of it. So that's one of the main things where tenants move, because just the landlord becomes a slumlord. So the second is ultimately, and again, those of you who have questions, don't hesitate to ask them below. Thanks, Joseph Dawkins, for joining from Las Vegas. Victor Rodriguez, and we've got Mark from Rapid City, San Diego. All right, so the second is building rapport with your residents, and also not being a stranger. And what that goes into is just not making it so transactional, such as tenant comes in, they pay the rent, thanks for paying the rent, okay, you can stay the remaining of your lease. Ultimately, by building a rapport is not exactly getting all into their personal matters, but still just making it a little bit more personable, so that person feels a little bit more involved, so it's not so much transactional. So that's the first one, again, is proactive maintenance and communication. The second is don't be a stranger and build rapport. So the third one is just simply being respectful to the residents. And what I've seen just in the industry as a whole, or most of the property management companies that I work with, is again not being as treating the tenant exactly the way they're supposed to be treated, like a person. It's more of, okay, a tenant comes in, they're just going to pay rent, hello, bye. So it's just being ultimately respectful to that individual. And just a prime example is what I've learned is, for a move-in for our specific residents, what we'll do is we will actually provide them a gift basket, because they've had this long day of moving. We have the gift basket that is toilet, there's a gift card to Little Caesars, there's dog treats for their specific pet. So that's another thing that you can kind of just going a little bit above and beyond with that. The fourth point is offering renewal incentives. So renewals are key. And let me go ahead and see if everyone's still good on here. Awesome. Is offering those renewal incentives. So let's say the tenant is on a 1-year lease or 2-year lease up front that is expired. It's good to, up front structure your lease to where when it does expire, that there is a month-to-month fee. So that does kind of push that resident to renew a lease. So that's one. And then also if they sign a 1-year lease, then let's say you're pushing the rates up to market. So if they sign a 1-year lease, there's going to be a small increase on the rent. And excuse me. If they sign a 2-year lease, there's going to be a smaller increase on the rent. And then if they sign a 1-year lease, there's going to be a little bit more increase on the rent. So that's just a little bit of insight on that in terms of offering the lease renewals. You can also throw in other things such as the gas card. There's grocery card. What else you can throw in there? Have the resident, you paint an adjacent wall that's a color to their liking, because if that tenant moves out, then you're ultimately losing more money, because now you're going to have to turn a unit and also have to market to get another resident in there. So if you can offer that money up front to get them to push towards signing that lease renewal, then that's the more the merrier. So there's those 4 points. The 5th one is to screen aggressively. And again, those of you who are on Facebook, please go ahead and do the likes and the loves, because what the way Facebook's algorithm works again is when people are liking, sharing, loving the content, it pushes it out that much more. So ultimately, I'm here to bring the value. And then also those of you who share this stream, I will pick 2 people to have a phone call with myself, and I'll just jump in here later and see all the people that shared. So last time I've had 4 or 5 phone calls over the course of the past couple weeks, and those have been tremendous in terms of the value that was brought, the value from the other person's angle that was delivered. So there we go. So the 5th point is screening residents aggressively. And what that means is not just someone walks into your unit and says that, hey, I'm interested in renting. Then you say, okay, all right, well, let's sign up a lease. What that means, hello there, Steve. Thanks for joining from Phoenix, Arizona. So I had to, excuse that little tangent there. Not tangent, but side. Just went off on a little side thing. But the screening aggressively, which ultimately helps your bottom line, is ensuring that they meet your qualifications, such as they have to gross 4 times the monthly rent, no evictions within the past 7 years, all that have to have a credit score of 700. All your qualifications, ensure that you have those in place, and that you do a background check just to ensure that, one, they don't have evictions, and they don't have any type of felonies that are against whatever your criteria happens to be or your requirements. Because ultimately, let's say you have multiple units or a community, for instance, for myself, that one bad seed can disrupt a whole, I would say, community, or even just specifically a common area. So, and then again, the other residents are saying this person's selling weed, or they're just being a nuisance, then that you're constantly getting those complaints. So just be sure to screen aggressively. And then also, if that person has eviction, then it's likely that once they get into your specific property, that it could experience again with you running into that and them not paying you. So there's that. And then the last one is just to go above and beyond to satisfy and solve problems. And just to give you a prime example, I had a specific resident in one of our units, and personally what I did was they put a Google review on one of our communities and just mentioned that we were doing construction, because what we do is we're doing value adds on these apartment complexes. So we were turning a unit, and his cat was just being a little bit fearful. He was concerned for it, left this publicly online. So what I did was I went to the dollar store, got some gifts for the cat, personally knocked on his door. He was perfectly fine, gave him the gifts, and he just happened to change the review. That was not the intention, but that is ultimately what happened. I just wanted, from my angle, this person had a problem or was just disgruntled a little bit, so just wanted to go above and beyond. And as an end result, that person will have that in the back of their head that, hey, this new management company, this owner really cares, so it's likely that they will stay versus just moving on to another community. So there you go. Those are the 6 different ways to become Landlord of the Year. Again, those are things that I also need to take into consideration myself. A couple of those I am doing, but some of those I am not doing. And again, I'll go over them. Thanks for sharing the stream there, Blaze. Hello, thanks for joining Arthur from New Hampshire. Thanks for joining. Well, thanks for sharing there, Steve. Give some shout outs to people on YouTube. Hello, Lisa from Long Island, New York. All right, so again, I'm gonna go ahead and go over the points. First one is to be proactive on the maintenance as well as communication side. The second one is don't be a stranger and build rapport with your residents. Within that, you don't have to get necessarily into their personal lives, but hey, they come in, pay the rent. Hey, Joe Smith, how's everything been going? How's your experience? And then most likely they'll say, well, there's a leaky faucet here, closet is falling off the hinges. That's one thing you may get, so don't be afraid of that. Just go out there and assess the situation. And then the third one is be respectful. On your end, be sure to be a little bit more on the tenant friendly side. Ultimately, this is, well, from my perspective, is it's a business. They are renting your rental property, so along with that, there is customer service. So the fourth one is offer those lease renewals, which lease renewals are crucial. And one way, a tactical approach to structure is your lease up front is once the person's lease expires that there will be a assessment of a month-to-month fee. And then in addition to that, if they sign a 2-year, let's say your rents go up 6% over the course of a year or somewhere along those lines, but instead of they sign a 2-year lease, then they get a small rent increase. Well, was it? What I'm trying to say on that? Trying to give an example. Let's say they're renting your property at $950, and then the fair market on that is $1,000. Let's say they sign a 2-year lease, then they would get it would be $950. Well, no. Let's say they're renting at $900. Fair market is $1,000. Then they sign a 2-year lease, then it would increase to $950. Let's say they sign a 1-year lease, then it would increase to $975. So with that, you're just basically saying that, okay, well, the longer you stay, the more that we will reduce on the more we'll reduce on the rent, just to really get them to push. Because ultimately, the worst thing to happen is that tenant happens to move out. You have to turn it, and then you have to market to get another resident in there. The vacancy will kill your profits. So the fourth one, or I actually forgot one of my points. Fifth point will be to screen aggressively, which is tenant walks in and they say, hey, I would like to lease your unit. That, hey, up front, just don't allow them to sign the lease. You got to make sure, verify their income, as well as run a background check and ensure that there are no evictions that they've encountered previously. And the last one is just to be sure and go above and beyond to solve their problem. So, all right. So the questions, if you happen to have any questions, again, for those of you who are on Facebook and also YouTube, I believe there's a feature where you possibly can share on YouTube, but I will go ahead and go after this, and 2 lucky individuals will have a phone call with myself who have liked and also shared the stream. So we have one question here from Nicole Stoddard. You obviously allow pets. How can I use that to make me landlord of the year? So that is a great question. One thing is, from our angle is, let's say up front, the prospect lets you know that they do have a pet. We have gift baskets that we provide to our residents upon move-in, and within that gift basket, prime example is you can put dog goodies in there, and you can do 50-50 where it's primarily gift towards the pets, and then the remaining are gift towards the residents, such as toilet paper, dishwashing, liquid fluid. Well, let's skip the dishwashing liquid fluid, and then let's say a gift card to Little Caesars, which is a really good one because they've had a long day of moving, and then after they move in, they just want to eat. So they've got that gift card, and that goes a long way. So another question is, that I have. Do you have property? Do you have property? Do you have a property management company, or do you landlord yourself, which is ultimately self-managing? At the scale, I have just a little. Well, my partner and I have just a little over 300 units, and that is comprised of single-family, multifamily. So what we did was we decided to build out a property management company that manages only our assets. So I, in a way, self-manage, if you could, basically. Is there any way I can find these live streams saved? This guy, this in, is there anywhere I can find these live streams saved? I'd like to be able to see ones I missed. You can actually go to, I do not know about YouTube, for instance. This is Pharaoh 9000. Is you can actually just go to the BiggerPockets Facebook page, and you'll see all of the previous live streams that are there. So there you go on that. Hopefully that did answer your question. And then let me go ahead and refresh this page to see if there's any other people. Hello, thanks for joining, Jennifer Jenkins. All right, let me see if there's any other questions. All right. So, for those of you who happen to have any questions after this live stream, or who will be revisiting later to watch it, who are not on the stream now, do not hesitate to again ask questions below and at me, so I'll be able to assess it. And then if you happen to stream it later too, then I'll be picking 2 individuals that have a phone call with myself. So again, thanks everyone for giving me your your gracious time and your attention on this Sunday. I truly do enjoy these live streams and bringing value to everyone. Again, don't hesitate to ever reach out to me on BiggerPockets.com, on Facebook, or at Sterling at holdfolio.com. That is STERLING at HOLDFOLIO.com to ask any questions, and ultimately I'm here just to bring value. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a great one.